Hi there, everyone. I just wanted to make a quick introduction to this video before the podcast gets underway. I am now a part of the Prairie podcast. I was formerly on the Jet-centric podcast, but now with that ending, I am now on the Prairie podcast, which is pretty fun. So in this video, you're going to see me, Jake from Peg City Hockey, and Zach and Carter from the Nolan Hockey podcast. And unintentionally, I guess this is going to be the JetsHub face reveal. Yeah, so if you don't know what I look like, I'm up in the top right corner. It hasn't really been a secret. It's not really something was planning on doing a big reveal for or anything, but I just don't really know how to incorporate my face into the video unless I do a face cam, but I just haven't really gotten around to doing that. But yeah, so you're going to see what I look like today. Very exciting stuff. I'm sure you guys are jumping out of your seat for that. But go give these guys a follow. I'm going to have both links to both channels in the description below. And go check out the old episodes of the Prairie Puck podcasts. I've been on before as a guest, but never actually an official co-host. Now I am. So today I am posting it on my channel, and next time it may be posted over on Peg City Hockey's or the Nolan Hockey podcast. We'll have to see which one wants to upload it. And it's just to create more exposure. But if you don't want to watch it here on YouTube, you can also watch it on Spotify. All links will be in the description below. And with that said, guys, long intro, but enjoy the podcast, and I will see you with more regular Jets content very soon, including something very fun and special that I've been working on for a while. Enjoy the pod, guys. Have a great day.
Good morning, afternoon, and evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. We are here in the Prairie Puck podcast. As always, I am joined by my co-host, Carter Nolan. Yep, very good. Jake.
Hello, what's going on, guys?
And Jackson.
What's going on?
And guys, yes, Jackson from JetsHub. Zach's going to butcher this, so I just got to say it. He is going to be joining the Prairie Puck podcast. Yay! All right, yeah, you can make a bunch of noise, whatever. So this is our new, I'm not going to say he's Ryan's replacement because he's not. Ryan is still a part of this. If you're wondering that, Hard Garbage Sports will always be a part of the podcast. He just is a busy guy, can't make every show. And Jackson can talk hockey more. So that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be talking a lot of Jets hockey this season. We're going to try to hopefully keep these shows maybe weekly if we can. You know, it's a big promise for all of us. Lots of commitment. But we're thinking Mondays recording. We're going to figure it out more, but just giving you guys a little bit of the information. Other than that, though, show stays the same. Just talking Jets hockey and all things related. And, be completely off topic at times. So, without any further ado, how are you guys feeling about preseason so far? Because we got a lot of interesting stories that we can talk about that I don't think that we saw coming.
This has been a good preseason. This is actually a really solid preseason. There's been a bunch of guys that have been supposed to be playing up to their potential that are, and then there are guys that are surprisingly playing up to potentials that we didn't see them playing up this early on, which is really, really reassuring for the future in a time where I think the future was the scariest thing for the Winnipeg Jets. Yeah, exactly.
Reassurance is a good thing right now.
Right.
Yeah. I was happy with that, obviously, but also just kind of the difference in the way this team looks under Rick Bowness. Obviously, the power play was not flushed out in, I think it was our first game, but I know they worked on it afterwards. And what I noticed about about Rick Bowness's power play was that it was quite similar to Paul Maurice's. However, the guys were moving. We didn't have guys standing still nearly as much. And that was, I felt like, the biggest problem with the Jets' power play beforehand is that it was so easy to defend it because the defenders never had to move.
Oh,
if you don't make them move and you don't open up passing lanes, you're not going to have success in the power play. And I was just happy to see that change.
Yeah, the power play has been a great thing and so much stuff. But
I know what was on the first unit for this past game.
Yeah, I feel like what we need to talk about, though, we got to start the show off with it because I know it's what everyone's been talking about on that's a Jets fan right now. Brad Lambert. Mind blowing.
Brad.
He can do it.
Jackson, this guy,
Wow.
I can't believe it still, honestly. I knew he was good. I knew he failed, but did you ever think that he was going to be able to play at this level already at the NHL preseason? Because it shocks the hell out of me.
Watching the carryover World Juniors where a lot of guys I don't know, weren't participating in it because they did have NHL camp and everything. Lambert was a guy that was in Finland, and I thought that he would be a little bit of a project. He got benched. I mean, in the semifinal game, so I don't know. He just didn't look that good. So I really didn't expect him to come out in camp off injury to come out and look like the most electrifying guy on the ice. But
Yeah.
watching the last two games, he's a lot of fun. That one where Dadonov pretty much just gave him a gift, but he just came right up the middle, snapped it. I mean, watching these past two games, I can't believe he fell to 30. But
Exactly.
obviously, I don't know.
I
I think he
shocking.
could if he doesn't go and make the Jets this season, like if he's not full-time Jet, full 82, it won't be long for sure. He's fun.
No, he is insane, and like just again, a guy like Brad Lambert just drafted into the organization like 4 months ago, already making a contribution early on in the preseason. Yep. There's a couple games left. We have no idea if he's going to earn a spot. We're hoping so, but it's finally starting to look like with Rick Bowness and this new system and regime is that the young guys are getting opportunity even with mistake, and they're getting to play through that and getting to learn
having
from
success.
that. And that too, success from in these games as well, and that's the biggest thing. And we're talking about guys like Brad Lambert coming in right now and just surprising the hell out of everybody and being super entertaining. But what about the guys we already know about? The Cole Perfettis, the Ville Heinolas, Dylan Sandbergs. It's just been such a refreshing sight to see all these young players coming in and forcing the Jets to actually make tough decisions for once, because you have to pick these guys now. They've shown that they are ready. What's next for the Jets? I have no idea. Obviously, looking like some trades are going to have to be made, but these young guys have put the Jets in a tough spot, and I am all for it. It's just so refreshing to see.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, especially too with like how they're gonna have to end up managing ice time this upcoming season.
For sure.
Because like especially even if we just throw out a hypothetical and say Brad Lambert, which is still there's no gibbies in where he'll end up. But if he makes the Winnipeg Jets roster, where do you put him? Do you put him second line? Because you can't put him on the first. Because I think the first line is probably going to be Scheifele, Ehlers, Connor. I think that's looking like a lot of what the practice has been for the first line. And I actually don't. I have nothing wrong with that line. If you have two dynamic wingers that Mark Scheifele can pass to, and one that is established with hitting high goal scoring totals, I have no problem there. The second line has been something that they've been moving around a lot. We've seen a lot of Perfetti being slotted in there. We've seen Dubois slotted in there. We've seen Wheeler play there, and Wheeler actually hasn't looked awful on that spot. I think
hasn't looked great either. That's the problem.
He's not great, but it's also we've seen a lot worse from Wheeler. We've seen a lot worse.
To be fair, we also yet have not seen Morgan
that problem that down there, right? Like if you start with Blake Wheeler on your second line, it's obviously going to slow them down a lot to the point where they're going to be ineffective, and they're going to probably have bad plus minuses again. They're going to be slow. They're not going to be able to push through the neutral zone as well, and that's going to affect the team's bottom line. So Bonus doesn't want to make that decision. So.
Right.
That's why I think Lambert can I think Lambert could push right in there. I just had to say that. I really think Blake Wheeler is going to get outplayed by a rookie, an 18-year-old rookie. I think that's going to be kind of his revenge, the Patrick Laine revenge in Winnipeg, kind of in a way, I really think that's what's going to happen. It's looking that way, and who else plays?
We went through some more cuts today as well. I don't know if any of you guys noticed. Kevin Stenlund got put on waivers. Christian Reichel was assigned to the Manitoba Moose. So,
I also noticed on the defensive side of things, it looks like, according to a tweet I saw from Murat Aids, it looks like Stanley is going to be a lock.
For what?
On the defensive side of things.
You're just dropping that in now?
He's going to be a lock in the 8, but I don't know. Like, it doesn't seem like they want to move.
That's what he tweeted.
I think that 6th spot is totally up for grabs, but they're not going to put Stanley on waivers because the Jets just won't do that.
Nope.
Right.
They won't waive a former first-round pick.
But they're also still thinking about not putting Capo Bianco on waivers. They're still thinking about not putting Kovacevic on waivers. So
right, and then also just to add, just for full context for anybody watching as well that have been put on waivers in the past and already cleared is Ashton Sautner, Mikey Easemont, Jeff Malott, and Leon Gowanka. So those are the guys that have already been cut, and then even the cuts that were earlier on that were like less talked about because they were kind of shoo-ins given how close they've been.
Mikey
Has
getting cut
Lundmark been cut
surprises me
yet?
though. Lundmark was one
got
of the
sent
first
down,
wave.
yeah.
Yeah, the
Lundmark
first
got
wave
sent
of
down.
cuts.
Okay, it wasn't on any of my media put out postings, so I didn't see it. But yeah, understandable again. Like
Well,
the logjam at defense is such a frustrating one because I understand why a lot of the veteran defensemen are there, but there's too many of them, arguably, that
not
are
arguably.
like
I think
there's
it's factual.
you
at this
don't
point.
need all of the ones that you have because like are they worthy of playing NHL like spots on an NHL team? Yes, but a roster should always have enough room to reward upward mobility. And that defensive core doesn't reward upward mobility. It actually rewards the opposite, which is a logjam of defense and what I like to call transplant players. You have players that you put in there that have like actual like there are players that you want to reward with upward mobility from your system, and then you have players that you pick up that are like transplant players that are there to make up a roster spot that like realistically speaking you don't ever see them elevating their game to a point where they would play more regularly.
Kyle
Please keep
Capobianco.
moving your head so I know that I don't glitch out. Okay, good. But like Kyle Capobianco is not like he's a transplant player.
But he's better than Logan
upward...
Stanley.
He is, but
that's
being
the
better
problem
than Logan
right now.
Stanley
Like
gets you the 7th spot. It doesn't even get you on the on a night roster.
I think what we should do right now is take a moment to acknowledge the fact that every Jets fan that actually agreed and thought that a trade this offseason, moving a defenseman, was necessary, they're looking like they're being proved right because we're not even through preseason yet, and the Jets are finding themselves asking, what the hell are we going to do because we got too many defensemen that are ready to play right now to help us win. Like, you should have traded Logan Stanley. You should have moved him. You should have moved Dylan. You have all these guys playing like crap now, and now you have all these young guys who you own, have no problem with retaining rights. That's the big issue right now. They have to play. They should have made the smart decision and just believed in these young guys and cleared the cap. Now they're going to have to try to move these guys when they're showing to be useless duds in preseason. Why would you trade for Logan Stanley right now? Especially if you got some other young, 7th, 8th young defensemen down the list showing promise right now in your own organization. Why wouldn't you take a chance on him?
Arguably, I don't know, a little bit of a controversial take here, but I really like Declan Chisholm. And up until the last couple games, I thought that Declan Chisholm played much better than Logan Stanley. I thought he had a better start than Sandberg. I thought he looked a lot better than all those guys. And he's that good, and he's probably a better defensive prospect on a lot of other teams. But we're so log-jammed right now with guys like, and I'm not saying they're bad or anything, but Nate Schmidt, Brendan Dillon, even Neil Pionk to an extent hasn't looked great this preseason.
He's looked
probably the worst.
It's weird to say that because Neil Pionk went from being like the best underdog on the Jets, when we get him and bring him in, what he does, and then to look where he is now after that contract, it's not looking good. He's looking like how Josh Morrissey looked a couple of years ago after signing that.
Yeah, but the
deal.
good news is he does look affordable if you have to keep him.
Yeah, but he looks affordable and he looks like also decent blue trade line right now because I'd prefer a competent blue line.
Yeah, like he looks like decent trade bait that as well.
Maybe. If you can get that much Arista line, and you can get something for Neil Pionk.
Yeah, I don't think Neil Pionk goes anywhere anytime soon. I think the Jets really like him. They just locked him up to that contract, so I don't think he's going anywhere. But I do think that they made a mistake last offseason, trading that 3rd-round pick for Nate Schmidt. And I like Nate Schmidt as a person. I like Nate Schmidt on the ice. But I think that would have been the year where, I get they were thinking they were going all in and everything like that, but I think that would have been the year to maybe chuck in a prospect to give him the shot. And if things don't work down the line, then you make that move mid-season.
Okay.
I would argue that
I'm not against that,
Dillon
but I would
argue
that
they didn't need.
I would argue the trade for Brendan Dillon is more problematic
it's 2
than the
seconds
trade
for
for Nate Schmidt.
Because Brendan Dillon, all he brings to your team is age and physicality, one in which you get in a younger player and bigger size than Logan Stanley, if you really want that in your lineup. Now, we just ripped Logan Stanley. We know he's not good, but Brendan Dillon, he's nothing fantastic either, and you gave up 2 second-round picks for him compared to a 3rd for Nate Schmidt. So, for me, that is the trade that really kind of sunk the ship defensively for, with the roster. Yeah. I think Nate Schmidt's a much better addition to this club for what he brings on and off than what Brendan Dillon ever will. and ever can,
Yeah.
honestly.
And
Mhm.
and the interesting thing here with the trade for Dylan and kind of the situation he's in now is I know there's a lot of people that are hesitant to even move him. More so not because of his ability just as a defenseman per se, but more of that he brings a level of physicality that we don't see that much on the defensive side of things in the Jets. And I know there are some people concerned, like hey, Noel's a small guy. Sandberg isn't small, but he hasn't been overly aggressive or overly physical. And I know there are some people worried that maybe we don't have enough of that on defense. And I understand those concerns, but at the same time, it's like that can't be the reason that you don't have a guy like Ville Heinola or Dylan Sandberg not playing in the lineup.
Exactly.
There's a fine line where you want to be able to have that size, but if you get the amount of skill that you have, you'll deal with the size problem later. You know what I mean? And maybe it's one of those things where you're able to gain some size up front, and then it kind of minimizes what you need back there. I mean, obviously having a guy like Dubois who's very, very two-way, who's going to be solid in the defensive zone and pretty physical in the way he is, will kind of reduce a little bit of that workload, I think.
I've been I don't know, on my channel and on a couple different podcasts too. I probably brought it up on the last one we did last time I was over here, but I was thinking that a Brendan Dillon trade would have gone down way like a long time ago. Maybe around the draft or something. His name was getting thrown out there by Friedman. But the one thing that I didn't mind about the 2 seconds for Dillon is that I thought, okay, if it doesn't work out, that's a guy that you can easily move, because so many teams, like shorter contract, but so many teams, just like the Jets with Logan Stanley the last couple of years, value that size and physicality. So I thought you'd be able to recoup your assets for the most part anyway if it didn't work out here.
Yeah.
With Nate Schmidt, I think that $6 million is a little bit tougher to move. Dillon's is only 3.8, so that's why I was saying they kind of pigeonholed themselves with Schmidt, because I don't think they can get rid of him if he doesn't have a great year this year. I think he's just kind of there, but I do think he'll have a better year.
I think
under Bonus,
I don't think you need to move him as much, and I do agree that it's a little bit more difficult to move him with his contract situation, but I don't think it's as necessary as I'd say with Dillon.
No,
but,
for sure.
Yeah,
for
I
sure.
understand what you're saying.
Dillon is, Dillon is much more expendable in my opinion. I think we saw last year how well Sandberg played and how, I don't know, he was at least comparable to Dillon in most aspects. So I thought, I don't know, I like Sandberg last year a lot. It's just too bad that we have to pick between hoping that Stanley isn't in the mix here. It's Sandberg or Heinola for the last spot. It's too bad we have to pick one, because I think both would do this team pretty well for a team that's probably not going to contend.
Yeah, I agree. I really think that this team, it needs to kind of move away from this size matters mentality, like, you know what I mean, on defense especially, because we're starting to see in the NHL that, having guys that can hit, it's important, but you don't need to have these behemoths out there that all they do is go out there to, just destroy players and make those highlight hits like what Bufflin used to kind of do, like there's a different breed of defensemen coming in, and I think the Jets need to embrace that. So I'm really hoping that Rick Bowness, being a coach in the past in his career, has embraced a newer style of defensemen and embraced prospects and given bigger roles to young guys, which I think is huge for success. Far. Exactly, and it's looking like that here too. I'm really hoping that Chevy will see this too and see the value and finally, because think about it, guys. For the longest time, all we were draft and develop. The biggest trades we made were for Lee Stempniak at the deadline. That was our big deadline acquisition. Not all these other moves that have been made in the last 4 years. So it's time to Chevy to get back to his roots, admit the fact that he lost a trade and that it's not worked out that well. Get what he can in return and focus on the youth that you have on this club, because that's what's going to make or break this ship and break this entire season, honestly, in my opinion, is the youth. If the youth play well, we can make the playoffs. We could surprise. I would not be surprised. If they don't, we will be a team in the bottom of the league this year, without a doubt, in my opinion. The youth have to perform this year.
And like I said, and like you were saying, it looks like Rick Bowness is kind of one a little bit leading the charge there on getting these youth in there. So one thing I want to say as well is I really, really hope that Chevy is kind of if Rick Bowness says, one of our guys who's like, let's say it's Scheifele, for example, just example's sake. Scheifele's not performing. He needs to sit a game. It needs a little bit of a statement sort of thing. We need Cheveldayoff to have the trust in Bonus and to be behind Bonus in that, where he's going to let him make, some changes that, even if it seems a little bit uncomfortable at first or a little bit different than what he's used to, I think it's very important that Cheveldayoff has the trust in Bonus to try some new things, to try these changes, and to make sure that he's got the coach's back in that aspect. Just because that was one thing I was a little bit worried about, was that we'd have a new guy come in. However, it would be more of the same, because if Cheveldayoff isn't really behind him, then it's kind of like Paul Maurice has never left, because he's hands tied. So
recording. Yes, I'm on live.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is nice, because we've seen in the past with Paul Maurice and how much he's gravitated towards his veterans, and then when he stepped away there, we got Dave Lowry, and that was fun. And Dave Lowry said, hey, we're going to get to see these young guys play. We're going to get to see the Moose guys play. And I was excited. I thought that meant Heinola.
That's what I thought
we were going to see. And we got to see Christian Reichel, who I like, but that's not the guy. And then Jeff Malott, we got to see Mikey Isamont, but we didn't get to see the guys that are going to be the future, or hope to be the future anyway. So it was just kind of funny. It's turned into a bit of a Hallmark quote now, but hopefully this isn't all fluff with Bonus, because every single time he does some kind of quote about, hey, we're gonna these veterans got to play better, I always see Dallas fans quoting it and saying, oh man, looks like Bonus is taking his best quotes over to Winnipeg too. Here we go. And I'm like, oh no. So we have to see how the season actually goes, and see if he, can kind of stick to his script. But hopefully,
I think he can work here. I think this is the right group that can mix with him. The only wild card in there is Blake Wheeler. I feel like he is going to still be a tornado in that room, and you need to move him. No matter what the fuck he says in those bullshit press interviews on TSN, he is not happy to be here still. You need to move him immediately. So other than him, I think this entire team would buy into the Bonus system. I think they all are at that right age where what he'll be preaching makes sense to them, because they're not old men either yet. They're in their mid-20s. Like, they're getting into their prime. They've been around for a while. They know what's up. So you just got to move Wheeler out there. He's the big problem, I feel like, holding this entire group back. Like,
I think... sorry to jump in here, but I
please,
think
all I'm gonna do is just say the same thing that I usually say about this, but it all circles back to these same problems in the room that have been around.
The Wheeler
forever.
thing's fascinating to me, because I thought, okay, Wheeler's going to be second line with Dubois and Perfetti, and then the first line, Ehlers, Scheifele, Connor. I thought that was all set in stone. And then we saw Brad Lambert play these last two preseason games, and then they're 2 preseason games, but now the lineup this morning for the game Wednesday in Calgary is Lambert in the top 6 with, and remember, they're down to 1 squad now, so this is more than likely the squad you're going to see. Lambert with Perfetti, and it would be Dubois, but Toninado's filling in because Dubois is on a maintenance day. But if that goes well, and let's say Perfetti and Lambert look really good, where do you play Blake Wheeler? Because you're not going to play him on the first line.
Third line.
You're not going to play. Are you? Are you going to play Blake Wheeler with Adam Lowry? And
I would. That'd be a killer third line.
I would. But will Bonus do that?
If Bonus is a smart man, I think I'm sorry. Even for Blake Wheeler, I know he's a stubborn fuck, but the guy wants to win a cup. Right now, he ain't gonna get moved at the start of the season. Playing on the third line behind the youth, just fucking man up and play the best hockey you can. You don't need to be this franchise god anymore. Joe Thornton isn't. All these guys realize at some point they have to leave it in the past.
Okay, so couple things here, because you kind of brushed over Bonus, but I do want to, and I want to talk about a couple things. First off, I just want to talk about a funny, just a casual thing I noticed with Blake Wheeler. This is completely off topic, but kind of funny when you think about it. So, as anybody knows from the Jets Instagram, they did a whole bunch of Jets players came out after the game and did a group photo. And I searched through this, and Blake Wheeler is nowhere to be found in this photo. I didn't even realize this until y'all started talking. I'm like, hold on a damn minute. Like, Dubois in it, Reichel's in it. Pretty much everyone's. Lambert's down there. Lambert and his beautiful little sandals. He's down there. Who's not there? Mr. Blake Wheeler. Couldn't be us. Helly's down there. Logan freaking Stanley's
You're talking about
there.
the photo that we were in, right?
Yes, I'm talking about the photo we were in.
I didn't see him either.
Wheels ain't in there. But anyway,
Enola in his petrified face.
Yes, yeah, that's
interesting.
That's just Billy. But
that doesn't
like,
say a lot
thing...
about how the mighty have fallen. I don't know what will. That's like the fucking face of Winnipeg right there that won't even take a team photo with season ticket holders at the end of it.
Well, also, it's worth noting, though, too, like, in comparison, we talked about this in our last video.
That's not a good look.
But, like, PLD was out there the whole time. Like, for a guy who you expect to be under some scrutiny, he stayed out there. He was the last guy
It
off.
almost looked like he was doing a little damage control, not gonna lie.
Because he probably is. He learned from Columbus that he can't just whine and that he'll be fucking destroyed in the media. So he needs to play it the smart way.
Wasn't that more his agent?
I don't even. But, like, bonus. I want to talk about bonus. So, a lot of the reports I heard, I read something today, an article today about Nikolai Ehlers. Ehlers has never been so exhausted after a practice than he was with Rick Bowness. And I want to know what the hell was wrong with Paul Maurice to the point where he was not... He said, quote, my legs were shaking, but I felt like it was the right type of practice that we needed.
Paul Maurice probably like fucking doing nothing, man. They were just sitting in a circle jerk. All right, Blake, what was your favorite play from the last game? Everyone tell Blake your favorite thing.
They were just drawing straws to see how many extra minutes Blake Wheeler would get out there. That's what they did all practice.
Who's donating the minutes tonight, guys, for the Caps?
Oh, well, yeah, too. Also, they're having fun.
But you know, with that said, it doesn't really shock me because take a look at last year. Take a look at look at the compete level. Go watch like I don't know, game 67 or something.
Trust me, you don't need to remind me. I remember it. I covered every game, my friend. It's ingrained into my head because of how many times I said the same shit over and over and over again.
So boring. Like I'm one of those guys. I can watch whatever game. I don't care if they're losing. Like it sucks, obviously, but I'm more watching like how players like perform and stuff like that.
You're preaching to the choir.
And in preseason, I've seen more compete, and obviously guys are playing for a new coach and whatever else. And I don't know what this says about Dave Lowry and Paul Maurice and the rest of that bench there, but you might as well have put like winter boots on those guys and let them walk around the ice and run. Try to catch those guys on skates, and it wouldn't have looked too much different. Those guys were ugly slow last year, and that was depressing, and that's why people stopped showing up.
Well, yeah, like I agree with you too, especially with like on that compete level. Like, look at that game in Montreal. Like that's the game I come back to. That game in Montreal, on paper, the Winnipeg Jets have no business winning. Like no business winning. Look at the scoring. Look at the scoring summary. All of Montreal's guys in their regular roster are putting up points in this. Their starter, Jake Allen, played. Jets didn't matter. We had Cole Mayer score. We had Polai score.
Or Evan
then
Polai.
we have Brad Lambert scores first, and then Nate Schmidt with like under 20 seconds gets the game winner off a killer, might I add, forecheck that in any other year,
point.
that game goes to overtime.
Yep,
that game goes to overtime. Yep. They kept cycling it over to him, and he was rocketing shots like his life depended on it.
That's the attitude this club needs, though, because that's what all of us preached last year as fans. That's what we needed to see last year to get into the playoffs. Nothing ever happened, and now it's preseason, and we're watching guys in the Moose and the Jets buy into this new ideology, and I think it's great. I think that even if you suck this year, at least they're going to be going out there, hopefully, and giving some effort. Because I'll watch the Jets lose as long as they try. If they're looking like they played last year, it's going to be another tough, terrible season that I don't want to watch.
For sure. And obviously, these games are important for some of the younger guys and some of the guys near the bottom of the roster that are, looking to ensure that they get in and get their spot. But for guys that are already, for sure going to be on the team, these games aren't really that meaningful, so seeing them be able to really get behind Bonus and what he's been doing and really put in the extra effort to make sure, like I said, don't wait till overtime, get the win now, and just make sure you play till the very, very last second. Being able to see that kind of effort put into it when even when the games necessarily aren't as big, I think is going to be really important. And I hope that means that when it gets crunch time and it gets near playoffs, and I'd like to think that we're going to be making a push for that. That we're going to be able to get it done the way that Dallas was able to go on quite a streak last year. And
one can only hope for the success that Dallas had last year. I won't.
Well, and that was under bonus. So that gives me at least some confidence that when push comes to shove, that they'll be able to push that forward and hopefully get a spot the same way that Dallas did.
I hope so.
I'm hopeful.
So also moving on from that too, because we talked a bit about the top 6. I think I've talked to Jackson most about this, but the guys on the bubble that were playing on this team last year, and there's only really 2 names I have on the bubble for offensive forwards, and it has to be Tony Nato and Harkins, right? Those are the 2 guys on the bubble. Like, those are, because people have, and I don't think enough people are mentioning that Jansen Harkins is on the bubble. I really don't. Like, I haven't heard his name out in trouble. And the way I see it, and it was actually just, somebody sent this to me, but they said they need to cut two players of Tony Nato, Maynolainen, Barron, Lambert, Gustafson, and Harkins. They need to cut 2 players at least from that. Like,
I think it's going to come down to the last 4th line spot, and I don't think we were talking about this maybe even a week ago with Saku Manalainen, and the guy came in and he's looked really good.
He looks
looked
physical
good with Lowry
too.
and Appleton. He does. Yeah. He brings up. He almost scored. I think they were playing. It was the Ottawa or the Montreal game. He rang one off the bar, but he's
rang one off the bar a couple times.
Yeah, he has. Well. He's looked super impressive, and a guy that I haven't really noticed a ton up until like the last game was Harkins, and he was just working puck battles, but like I don't
know
how much
there.
There's nothing, and I've been saying this for a while now. Harkins is just a guy. Like, I don't think he's much on a contending team. Jansen Harkins is your 13th, 14th forward.
Yep.
Right.
On the Jets, he's just because they're the Jets, it wouldn't shock me if he makes the 4th line.
Right.
And whatever, or if they play him on the 3rd to start the year, but I don't think he fits on a checking line. I don't think he fits with Adam Lowry and Mason Appleton. I don't think he brings anything there.
Well,
doesn't have it like.
Okay, I've had these down in my head for a while. I just wrote them down so I wouldn't fumble it when I was saying it. These are my ideal lines of the forwards next year, and I think I completely agree with you both. Completely strip the bottom 6 from last year because it didn't work. You don't need to keep a bottom 6 around if it doesn't work. They're expendable guys, especially 26 and 28-year-old bottom 6ers. They're completely expendable. So Ehlers, Scheifele, Connor, Perfetti, PLD, and Lambert, I think that's the smart move. And then Appleton playing with Lowry and Wheeler on that 3rd line. And then you roll a forward line of Manalainen, Gustafson, and Sam Gagner. And if Sam Gagner doesn't work out, you roll in something else. But I think that's exactly what you do.
Can I hear your top 6
I think you could see that opening night.
Can you repeat your top 6 for a second?
My top 6, Ehlers, Scheifele, Connor, Perfetti, PLD, and Lambert.
Okay, I didn't hear Perfetti at first. I was like, wait, where is that?
And then Appleton, Lowry, and Wheeler are the 3rd line. 4th line is Manalainen with Gustafson and Gagner. I think that's the smartest thing. Because Gagner's looked good everywhere he played. Like I want to give it. You know what? That's a guy I haven't talked about in my videos on the game recaps, and I haven't talked about him enough. Sam Gagner has actually looked very good all camp and all preseason when he's jumped in. I've actually really liked him for a bottom 6 role. I think he had some spark with him.
His penalty killing is really on point.
Yep. He looked okay on the power play.
Shot blocking.
Like, I'm not gonna lie, his power play on the power play that game, I think it was the 2nd game, I believe it was. He looked okay on there. Like, he had some offense left in him. Now, I'm not expecting him to be out there, but that's a good sign for the bottom 6 to have a guy that can still put up some points, maybe, right? Exactly, Derek Forbert, get the fuck out of here.
Dude, Derek, no, don't even besmirch it. Derek Forbert like set the record in block shots. Like, that guy actually.
Yeah,
Derek Forbert's like
he can't skate.
But
couldn't skate. He was just sitting there.
And one thing that is noteworthy. Let me just see here. So Sam Gagner, he's 33. I'm just looking at his elite prospects profile right now. In his season last year in Detroit, he was able to get 31 points.
Well, he got 2 goals against us in one fucking game.
No, but I mean for his age and for where he's going to be playing in the lineup, that's not bad.
No, the Sam Gagne signing, very good.
It is. I like it.
Yeah.
Okay, then
it's like
Sarah Orleski.
It's like a Trevor Lewis signing. Like it's a guy that can probably still go, but is not going to be a main.
Not a question. I want to say something. Because I'm thinking now about the lines now, and I'm honestly curious. So even though we want Lambert up there on the second line and Wheeler on the third line, we think that would be very good for this team. Realistically, Blake Wheeler is probably going to play on that line with Perfetti and PLD. So what do you think the third and fourth line are going to look like without Lambert?
I'm Morgan Barron's biggest fan. Love
no.
Oh, Zach's gonna object to this.
Not true. That is
just because
he's pulling up the photo.
I have photographic evidence that in fact, Morgan
nice. But he's getting the shot on the third line. Harkins is hurt too. I don't believe he's playing on Wednesday. So he's going to get that shot with Lowry and Appleton, it looks like right now. And I think if he plays well, if he just has one of those games where you can't really be denied a spot, then what are you going to do? Then you got to look at Manalainen versus Harkins kind of thing, right? Because I don't think that either Chevy or Bonus really don't want to play Barron. I think the plan was to always have Barron in the on a line to start the season. I think the
third line, honestly, I think they want him with Adam Lowry.
I think the third line would work great. I think he would, because he's a big guy. He can score. If Appleton can unlock a little bit of the magic that he had in the 2021,
which I totally think he can.
Season there.
He started to have more life in his play near the end of the season after that trade. I think a full year with the Jets this year could be exactly what he needs to get his game back on course. Seattle, it was just terrible, and there was no identity within that club and on that team, right? So he had nowhere to grow his game.
I'm not super high on current day Mason Appleton. I think that he's probably just another replaceable forward, but I do think that maybe maybe in this checking line, if I don't know, maybe he can have a role that he really locks into, but we'll have to see.
We'll see.
I
still think he could be a 15 to 20 goal guy.
Yeah, the only problem with Appleton is that he's playing a style that we have brought in a lot of youth and a lot of transplant guys to replace in terms of a checking type style, and especially penalty killing.
Yeah.
Especially Manalainen kills penalties. Harkins can kill penalties. Oninato can kill penalties.
But I don't think Manalainen was expected to make this team, guys. That's the biggest thing. Is he was
That's just the thing.
People thought there was a chance he might when they signed him to a cheap deal, but not to this extent. He's playing himself into a role, no matter what. In my opinion, he's earned one. He's been one of the best checking forwards on this club all preseason.
And he's a big body in front of that.
This is the bottom six that I proposed then, okay? Because let's be real. Lambert, even if he plays, I don't think he gets the full year. I think they don't want to do that to him just yet. So
yeah, I'm on board with that, yeah.
So I'm going to take Lambert out of the lines. I'm not going to use Brad Lambert in my lines. What I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the top six the exact same and just slot Blake Wheeler in there with Perfetti and PLD on the second. My third line I'm keeping with Appleton, Lowry, and Morgan Barron. And then my fourth line, Manalainen, Gustafsson, and Sam Gagne. I think that's probably the best lines you can roll out this year.
And is that what you want or that what you think?
I think that is realistically probably the best you're going to get this year. And then maybe Morgan Barron can outplay Blake Wheeler if somehow he just has a firecracker lit under his ass. But I doubt that happens. So
how would you feel if they swapped Wheeler and Barron?
What's your power play units?
Out
of curiosity.
Power play is basically the same power play we've always rolled out. I just take out Blake Wheeler.
So what defenseman are you putting Billy on the power play?
Yes.
Because this is a 3-horse race.
You have to.
He's looked good there.
He's a god out there.
And I remember when we were going, me and Zach went to a Moose playoff game last year, and I just remember it was that's when it was because I've been hoping to see Billy spend some time on the Jets, more so because it's we haven't seen him enough, but. When we were at that game, that's when it fully was he does not belong here. He was skating circles around everybody.
So
he looked like he didn't belong. He looked like everything was just way too easy for him. So
while we're on the subject of players that look absolutely terrifying in the AHL, Morgan Barron looks like a menace in the AHL. The dude's shot is post in every night. It looked. You go back and look at the scoring for the Manitoba Moose in the very limited 5-game playoff run they have. Barron's got 4 goals. It's it ain't like he scored the first goal for pretty much every single game. It's not even fair.
That's why I'm excited to see what he's got this preseason. Because last year, however many games were after the trade deadline, he was one of the bright spots for me. Because like, what else was there to really like about that team besides like maybe Connor and like Perfetti was out at the time. We weren't playing. I mean, Sandberg, sure, but
Gus
like Gus was hurt. Like there was no fun. But then I don't know. I liked how, I don't know. I really liked his game. He brings offense. He brings offense. He's a tough forechecking guy, and I think he'd be perfect on that line. I think him and Lowry and Appleton could be a really sneaky, really good, like, dude, just
he looks
even
like he
offensive checking line.
Power forward.
And then you have a solid fourth line in Menelainen with Gustafsson and Gagne. Like that is a bottom six that I trust a lot.
I think that fourth line is set up. I think that because it's in camp right now, Manalainen, Gustafsson, and Sam Gagne.
Who put that out, if you don't mind me asking?
That was Mike McIntyre, and I believe Murata Tess also tweeted that this morning.
Perfect. I just want to check that out. I didn't get a chance to see that, but
So what area scares us the most? Like, and I guess like I want to throw the name in of backup goaltending. Because let's be honest, if we're going to be successful, Hellebuyck can't play the amount of games Hellebuyck played last year.
No.
Like, the burnout there is too severe, I think. And David Riddick scares me.
David Riddick, big save Dave, or lack thereof, is like one of the no save Dave. I don't like Dave Riddick. I don't believe in Dave Riddick.
A lot of people don't. Sure, he's a nice guy, but
I don't care if he's a nice guy. There's lots of nice guys on this hockey team, but like I remember golfing, and it was on free agency frenzy, kind of like not upset we didn't sign anyone, but was hoping we'd do something. So I was like, okay, you know what? I got a tee time. I'm gonna go out and golf. I show up to the course, phone's going off. Oh, we signed Dave Riddick. Day ruined. I don't love Dave Riddick. I've made fun of Dave Riddick for years. That when he ran into that post, I was.
Oh, I think you want to talk about making fun of Dave Riddick? Me and Zach are gonna have some fun this season.
He headbutted that door. Dave Riddick's gonna be headbutted.
Yeah.
Zach, have we decided on what we're calling it?
I have no idea what we're calling Dave's area on the bench. Dave's area on the bench is gonna be an interesting segment. We've got
I don't know if you're aware, Jackson, of the segment.
Dojo, it can be Dave's doghouse. It can be anything Dave wants it to be.
We had the Bressois bench, and then we had the Comrie Castle, and but we're bringing the green screen back. That's gonna be some fun.
Oh boy,
we're gonna have some. Dave's Dojo, I like that.
We have like I've talked to Jake about this. We have 3 intros set up for when he plays terrible. We have them ready. Like
we got a lot of stuff.
Whatever game he sucks in, they're ready. Like it's not a question of if, it's when.
One thing I want to make clear here, I'm not like totally writing Dave Riddick off as definitely going to be bad, but I think it is pretty likely. But remember what happened to Laurent Bressois.
Laurent Bressois is a different situation, though, man. I get what you're saying,
for sure.
And
I was gonna say,
I would totally agree with you, because the Jets are this sometimes. Like look at Eric Comrie too, right? They revived Eric Comrie too. They did the same thing.
I'm just saying. Last year we were having the same conversation about Comrie, and I know they're younger and everything like that. Whatever. But
point remains.
I will buy a Dave Riddick jersey. I'm just saying he is good this year.
Goalies are weird. Gentlemen. I will not be buying a Dave Riddick jersey.
I will be. Everyone on this podcast will be buying one. You hear it themselves. They've admitted it. They're going to use their own money. I'm not buying it for them. They're buying it for themselves.
We're gonna get a Dave Riddick Wazak jersey, and that's what.
Okay, this is what we're doing. Okay, if Dave Riddick has more than 5 wins for some reason by the time I come to Winnipeg, we're gonna buy a Wasak jersey. We're gonna find him. We're gonna get him to sign it, and then we're going to like frame it and some shit like that.
Okay, no, because that's not fair.
We're gonna take it to Joe Daly. I'm talking. It's the grown-ups' turn to talk right now.
Listen. That's not fair.
Okay, never mind. He won't listen to me. I got no control of my children.
We play in the same division as Chicago and Arizona. That is not fair. Here's the counter proposal: 5 wins and 1 shutout. He needs 1 shot. He can get it on game 1 or game 82.
You're actually trying to make this. You're gonna put your money into it. All right, Zach puts his money into it.
I'll do it. Shutout. One. Just
All right.
one. If he can get one.
Can't wait for you to show up to a Jets game wearing a Dave Riddick jersey.
It'll be signed. It's gonna be worth
A signed
$5
Dave
for
Riddick
all of
jersey.
their jerseys.
That makes it so much better that it's
Oh,
signed.
yeah.
It'll just be like Dave Riddick. I did get a save.
No.
right
Oh my
underneath.
god.
I'm gonna say, please sign it, Big Save Dave.
Oh my god, I would actually love it. I would get
that
him to
would
do
be
that.
funny.
That is sick.
That'd be fantastic.
Okay, I actually
my
want to fuck
God.
you, Zach. Now I want to meet him and get him to sign Big Save Dave on the fucking other jersey. That would be the best thing I could get framed, man. Can you imagine that? You have like a fucking people come out. Oh, it's David Riddick. Why the fuck? Why do you have that sign? It's like, look at the
Because he's
signature.
Big Save Dave.
And then you get like the most obnoxious photo of David Riddick to put like underneath the photo in the frame.
And then you just put like his saves like on the night that he got the shutout, like 22 out of 22, Big Save Dave.
Whatever, fucking guy. Oh, I don't even know what to say anymore after that. Like I had like this whole train of thought lined up, and then now it's Big Save Dave.
Big Save Dave.
Big
Oh
save,
man.
Dave.
You know what though? This is exactly kind of how I feel about the Jets anyway right now. Like I try to think about them like, oh, how are we gonna be good this year? And like kind of, you know how I always do every year. You know, just looking at things, analyzing them, and I don't know what the fuck is gonna happen this year. I got no expectations. I don't care. Like after last year, I just want a little bit of effort this time around, and that like please, that's about it, and some enjoyable hockey.
And
Like
some
last year, I don't know how many
consistency.
games how many games like dozens of them that were just like you just sat there and you wanted to cry watching hockey because it was so boring. It's like, is this what my life has come to, that I give 3 hours out of my day to watch the Jets lose in a 1-0 18-shot game to the Arizona Coyotes?
Bro,
Oh,
I
God.
was there. I was there. I was in the
Yeah, we were
building when
both at that
Lee
game.
Erickson got an assist.
I
on
wouldn't
that
have made it
son of
home
a
that
bitch.
night, man. I think I would have jumped off the building. Fuck, like,
Bro.
damn.
There was audible sighs all over the building.
How could you not? Like, yeah, I would
The
leave. I could.
Melko,
I just
like,
like
what,
thing. I will not
51
leave a
saves
sporting
and a
game no matter
shutout?
what until the end of it. But
Vej
if they were
Melko's
losing
in
like
the
that,
Is it Vemelka or is it Vejmelka?
I have no idea. I just like putting the Z on Vejmelka. Sounds nice.
who cares?
Vemelka just sounds like you put a fucking space in there.
I'm not sure what it actually is. That's what I was asking.
Man,
How do
I
you
was-
guys draw up the D pairings? What do you guys think those are going to look like this year?
the D
That's what I wanted to hear
pairings.
from Jake because he gave his
Okay,
his.
I'm not
starting-
gonna lie. I've had the D pairings on my docs page since we started talking about the lines, and I'm kind of just stumbling. It's been so many variations, and I don't know what I think will work. I really don't know. Like I wanna put Morrissey with Villy, but then I'm like I don't think that'll work, and then I want to put Sandberg with Villy, and I'm like that won't work. You can't have two young
Would
guys playing
you-
together. Like I just I don't know what I would want. I want them to look like. Like I know who
Who's
I
left
want
and who's
playing.
right?
I just don't know.
I forget all the time. Wait, go through our lefts and go through our rights.
So like Josh Morrissey's on the left, right?
Okay.
Yep. Morrissey, Dillon, Sandberg, Villy.
Yep.
Schmidt shoots left, but he plays the right side.
So can you do Sandberg and DeMello?
I don't think there's any reason to split up Morrissey and DeMello until it's proven that it doesn't work. Because that was
Okay,
one of the
that's
few
fair.
areas last year. Like that's
That's
just
been
me
one of the few
personally, but
constants since DeMello got here. The only
Yeah.
good pairings we've had. Gotta give him credit like that. He has been
Like
such a
DeMello can
stable guy for us.
DeMello can pretty much go with pretty much anyone, I think.
the year that he proved it in Stanley's rookie year. I mean, he dragged Stanley's corpse around and made him look like an interesting prospect that year. And now you play him without him, and it's like look
Yeah,
what
it's
happened when he played with Nate
travesty.
Schmidt last year. It's like terrible. So, and look what happened in preseason. I think it was Stanley's first shift of preseason. Whoop, free pizza. And then I don't know. He did it again in the third period too. And then Dylan Holloway, I believe, missed the net. But yeah,
there's
I
a
don't know.
couple.
I'm not a big believer on Logan Stanley, if that hasn't been made clear already. But if I were to draw him up, I think I would try Morrissey DeMello again, see if that still work, and try with. I'm assuming Pionk's gonna get a top 4 spot just because. I don't know. It seems like
Jets.
that's the way it's going. Jets. And then probably Dylan because big tough guy. And then I think Nate Schmidt is partnered with whoever there, and I think both Sandberg and Villy would fit that bill fine. I don't really see the fit with Stanley because
Neither
we've
do
seen
I.
it before, and it's been proven that it doesn't work. So we'll
So you
see.
feel that
Kinda,
only one of those two is going to be in
it's
our sixth
there's
defenseman
no shot that both Sandberg and Villy make the team, and that's
until
why
they
it's so
move somebody.
frustrating. Until they move somebody, and I think it's got to be on the left side, and it's not going to be Morrissey. Morrissey's probably a lifetime Jet, and
Morrissey's a lifer at this point. That contract, you can't.
No, Morrissey's going up in the fucking Hall of Fame one day. He will be a lifer. No, he is a lifer.
I like Mo. Yeah, he'll get a banner for sure.
Mo deserves it, honestly.
He does, and that's why. So, sorry. I just want to finish my thought here with Brendan Dillon. That's why I was kind of frustrated that they didn't move him when we saw how good Sandberg played last season, and with all the potential in the world that Villy has, you have the opportunity to play both those guys. You just don't do it, and I don't get why you wouldn't want to just have like kind of a growth.
Who would
year
you
this
have
year.
as your second pairing?
Second pairing, I'm
assuming Sandberg.
I think Sandberg, just because I think he fits better with Pionk, but ceiling wise, I think
I agree with that.
Yeah,
and I also think because they've kind of tested Sandberg in the NHL more than they have with Villy, they'd be a little bit more comfortable giving that role to Sandberg, and then at that point just seeing what works. And with those three lines, if you get to a point where, let's say you move Dillon, or like Brendan Dillon, you then have Morrissey to Mello, then Sandberg and Pionk, and then Schmidt and Heinola. You roll with that, and then at that point you see what works, you see what doesn't, and I think you give probably pretty ample ice time to each. I don't think you really lean too heavily one way or the other. I think you play that. I think you more or less kind of roll six. So.
And of course,
I give it a try with.
So, like, looking at cap friendly here, is Dillon a guy that needs to be moved, like at the deadline? Like, because that's
Dillon
he
needs
needed to be
now.
moved last deadline.
He definitely does.
Before.
No, but I mean, like he's got a year left on this after this year. Like after this year,
I feel like he's gonna be a deadline move, but I want him to be moved before that because a guy like Villy needs more time.
Okay, I've got my lines kind of done up now.
It's possible he plays disappointing though, and they literally just put him down to 7. It's possible.
Not likely though, the way they give him minutes.
I
don't think so either, but a man can only hope and pray.
Like that's the thing. That's the frustrating thing with having the logjam of defensemen. They play enough minutes that they're acceptable roster spots, but they don't do enough with those minutes where you're like, I feel like this is the greatest possible lineup we can have going into game night.
That's the thing I find about about a lot of our defense. Not all of them, but a lot of our defense is like, we have a few that are, I'd say, definite roster locks, and then past that, we have a lot of guys that are similar in skill level and different in the kind of the types of skills that they have, but in terms of what they bring to the team, it's kind of similar-ish. So it's kind of like from probably our like 5th, 6th defenseman down to like our 8th defenseman. We have these 4 defensemen kind of in a weird state of limbo of, where all of them are, I guess, good enough to make the team, but it's like, who do we want to give this ice time to? Who is someone that we want to kind of plan our future around, and who we want to move? I think the 2 we plan our future with are Sandberg and Heinola. I think those are your 2. But I can see the Jets being a little hesitant.
Well, for me, I like Morrissey to Mello. I think, like we said, that's established. That's a good.
Yeah, I don't think that changes.
With. Honestly, I've got 3 different variations I like of that bottom of the last 2 pairings. I got Villy playing with Schmidt, and then Sandberg and Pionk. Then I've got Dillon playing with Schmidt and Villy playing with Pionk, and then I've got Dillon playing with Pionk and Sandberg playing with Schmidt. I think that's realistically how it's gonna look, because I don't see Logan Stanley drawing into this team. Like if you can't justify skating Villy and Sandberg in the same games because you just don't have the spots based on guys already ahead of them and veterans and whatnot.
Stanley and Dillon at the same time.
like
Just
you can't put
the physical package.
you can't justify putting Stanley in though over Villy. Like you just can't, especially like if that's your reasoning. Like there's guys that should be in ahead of them. Like they are better at this point, and especially even when you've got subs like Kyle Capobianco who are pushing for opportunity more than what Logan Stanley is bringing. I don't see him drawing in at all.
Yeah.
Well,
And I understand they're a little, hesitant where it's like, oh, like, you know, it's a former first-round pick. We want to be able to give him some time, and I know they're kind of really hoping that he's gonna explode, but it's nothing.
Yeah, I don't give a shit about where you're drafted. If you're not playing,
I know, but
good,
the Jets do.
No, I know,
they do.
I know they do. I know they do, and I know there's a lot of Logan Stanley believers in that in this organization, which is incredibly frustrating. But I don't. If somehow if Stanley pulls a rabbit out of his hat and he's able to start in the top 6 this season, I give it 15 games max before that changes, because we have an incredibly rough schedule for the first 10 or so games, and there are a lot of we'll see how the systems work together, and I don't think Stanley is adapted very well, to say the least. He's always out of position like usual.
I heard apparently he struggled in training camp.
He has looked okay. Fun fact about training camp: I pulled up to one of the practices and I watched a Moose PTO player, Nick Jones, fleece him in the corner, take the puck away from him 3 times in 5 minutes. So at that point, I was like, okay, Stanley's done. That can't happen. So fine, whatever. But if he does go there, don't tell me the Rangers, the Leafs. I think we play Edmonton, I want to say. And there's a whack load of other great teams in the first 10-15 there that are going to look and try to expose that pairing, I believe. But we'll see how he does, if he does start. But
I don't think he does, but I agree with you, though, full-heartedly, that if he does make this team, he will be the biggest weakness on defense. He will cost this team games. And it's not even about, like, you know, making up for his play. He is just that bad. He will just create opportunities for the opposition that you won't be able to get back from. But, you know, for a guy that's, like, I just wanted to check his game. He's played 3 years already, right? 95 games. And he's never gotten better at all in 95 games. Like, he has not improved one bit. Like, that is starting to reach the point where, like, you need to really look at this and be like, hey, how much longer can you wait? Because even Zdeno Chara had slight increase in play and just overall stats every year.
At least in the right direction.
Like, Stanley has not moved an inch. So I don't know why they think he's just going to explode now all of a sudden when it looks like recession's hitting in. You've seen the best of Logan Stanley.
And this goes back to a guy like Heinola ensuring that he's going to be able to get ice time. Like, because how many main roster games has he had, Jake? 15?
Logan Stanley?
As opposed to
Logan? Ville Heinola played like 15 last year, I'm not mistaken.
I think it's 25 games total for
25 as opposed to 95.
Yep.
Heinola we've seen improvement in. I think that's pretty clear.
Yep.
We've seen improvement.
Never forget.
It's not going to be another year of that, Jackson.
Of Ville Heinola as Bernie Sanders.
I don't want to lose him. I don't want to piss off more young players and have them wanting to leave, man. I'm tired of that. Just make some of these guys happy. Give them a chance.
Yep.
We need to see a petrified Heinola turn into a smiling Heinola.
Exactly.
God, imagine Heinola with a smile. I haven't seen one since his goal against Pittsburgh. I honestly haven't. Like, his first goal, he was so happy, and then I never saw that smile. We locked that smile away.
Very small point.
Had the best analytics in the entirety of the AHL for defense.
Very small point. Just want to point this out.
Like, this guy needs to make the fucking NHL. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
You said something about Pittsburgh. Just want to make a little small point here. For those who have not seen it, I know me and Zach have for sure. Pittsburgh Penguins legend Nathan Beaulieu has signed in Anaheim. He did the other day. So. Just had to mention that.
Yeah. Also, if anybody I need to actually put this out right now. If anybody knows Nathan Beaulieu and can get a hold of that guy, please tell him to reopen his Cameo for $25. Asking for a friend. We need that. We need access to that.
I wonder why. God, I don't even want to know what you would buy with that. I need to use that too, man.
I want it, yeah.
No, Zach told me, and I was like, "Oh my god!" I literally,
'cause
I
Jackson told
downloaded
me.
Cameo just to take a look at that.
We downloaded Cameo.
Are there a
just
lot
for
of former
Nathan
Jets
Bullock.
players on Cameo? Is this what it's turning into? How are we
Evgeny
doing that?
Svechnikov is on it, but he's $105. So.
Too rich.
$105
For
Yeah.
Svech, I know.
Ugh.
At least I think he is.
Okay.
We got that
Svech.
Winnipeg fan base, man. They're pumping
$105. Here, let's see if it loads
That's
in.
crazy.
$105. Evgeny Svechnikov.
Damn.
Yeah, but the reviews are nice.
The 14 reviews have 5 stars.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Evgeny. Mason loved it, especially after he just drew on one of your cards and was excited about that. I'm sure he will be getting one of your jerseys soon. Thanks again from Lacombe, Alberta, Canada. Right.
That guy's a Jets fan,
That
and
was from
that kid's,
Anonymous
was
3 years ago. All these are from 3 years ago.
That's probably hasn't been updated in so long. That's like when he was like, I don't know, younger-ish, like pushing
Detroit
prospect.
He needed a side hustle.
Although
back
it says
then.
it's updated enough
Wasn't
to say he
playing
was
any
playing
games
in
in Detroit. He
Winnipeg.
was cooped up in
That's
rehab.
crazy.
Fucking needed to
Nathan
support himself.
That's 5 stars with 0 reviews.
But yeah,
Bro, I kind
Nathan,
of feel bad. Like, I honestly felt bad when I went there and I saw no, like, reviews. I was like, bro, that ain't right. He's selling at an affordable rate. Give the man some love.
It's Nathan Beaulieu, man. He probably got replies saying, "Can you just say I'm Nathan Beaulieu
His
and I
first
suck
video
at
was like, I look
defense or
forward.
something like that?"
He's like, I look forward to talking with all of you.
Like,
And then
I
he
can't
has
imagine
no
the
videos.
replies and the requests he must have got, if anything, especially from Pittsburgh fans.
ugh.
Like, or anyone after he went there, like Jets fan, like, oh man, if I knew Nathan Beaulieu was on Cameo, I would have made some funny inside joke with him or something like that. He would not have known what he was saying, but it would have been beautiful.
That's why we're too good for this.
Exactly.
That's why he's too good for this world.
You know, I feel good about this upcoming season, fun-wise, you know, like excitement-wise. Like last year, I was
Fun-wise, yeah.
hyped up because of all the trades
if
and all
we
this stuff. This
suck,
year, I'm
it's
just
gonna
like,
be-
let's watch some hockey, you know? Like, let's
It's
just
gonna
see
be
what happens.
Car wreck if we suck, and that's okay.
I don't think it's
be
going to be a car
entertaining.
wreck, though, because we'll have
NHL
some young
legend
guys.
John
to, like,
Scott.
you know, oh, I'd get John Scott.
For $150.
If we suck this year, I think that it's gonna be time to make decisions on who's gonna be here and who's not gonna be here going forward. But at the same time, I feel a lot more optimistic than I did a month ago. Just
Me
seeing
too.
how training camp's been run and with the work ethic and the preseason with Lambert looking actually like he could be a player, Lucius looking like he could be. I mean, not amazing in preseason or training camp or anything like that,
But
but a guy
there's
that
something to be
could
excited for
come on.
now. I didn't
Yeah,
see anything.
exactly.
I hadn't seen much from him at all, even footage-wise, so it was just nice to see him play.
No, exactly. But it's just nice to see these guys and that
Yeah.
these guys are legitimately getting a chance now. Like even our defensemen who haven't gotten the chance for the past 2-3 years, now under Maurice, under Lowry, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's refreshing to say the
It
least.
is. It's
a
But
change of pace.
one thing that I want to say before we're done here, if Dave Rittich does become a problem and the Jets legitimately cannot dress him and expect to win, I think you have to look at your $5 million in cap space and maybe look at making a move there.
Yeah,
And that
you know,
might
maybe-
mean moving out
maybe
of
that's
defense.
Move Dylan. Get yourself a backup goaltender.
If you think you're at that level where you're like, okay, wait,
Yeah.
maybe we can compete for a playoff spot this year, which I'm sure the Jets, regardless if
Get
they are or
Comrie
not, will
back.
try to. Will try to.
I think they'll find themselves in a spot at least of being competitive for
Yeah.
one. You know, like they're not going to be terrible this year, and I don't think they're going to be inconsistent enough to be like 11th, 12th for like a long periods of time. Like I think we're going to see an okay Jets team this year. They're not going to be great. I just don't think they're going to be as terrible as some people say. I think they're going to be about like. I genuinely think a bad Jets season this year is like 10th in the West. I think that's the worst
Yep.
we'll see, honestly. Other than that,
Where does that put them in the
I
Central,
don't see it being
though?
any worse.
Like, obviously,
think-
they're going to be... Like, I think it's fair to say... It's easy to say they're going to be better than Chicago and better than Arizona. After that, there are questions. Now, there's a couple
lot of
factors. If Dallas fucks up with Jason Robertson, the Jets are on paper better than Dallas.
I think we're better than Dallas.
I think
I think the Jets are better than Dallas as well.
I think Nashville's a question mark to me. because I don't know what UC Saros can do to elevate that team. But then after that, I don't think on paper, we're obviously not better than Colorado. I think St. Louis has the edge. Like, although they did lose David Perron, so their scoring regime is going to be a lot more interesting to see.
I actually, you know what? You're talking about
I don't
this.
like the Blues.
I just saw something from JFresh Analytics today on Twitter that had the Jets finishing third in the Central based on projected WAR percentages.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's what I'm curious about,
like,
a lot of teams
it's not completely out of pocket to think that they could get into the playoffs and be a third spot team in the Central. Like it's realistic to some extent. It is realistic in my opinion.
For sure. I think the Blues take a step back this year because look at regardless of how you feel about David Perron or anything. I think he's played, or I think he was a big part of that team and that core. He was just a guy that was always consistent and always, I don't know, just in the play. Exactly, right? So he's a good player, and I think that he is going to be sorely missed on that team. And you can give me all the hype about those two young guys they've got now that both got locked up to $8 million extensions. But is that enough to mask maybe a little bit of a declining Nick Leddy that they just paid for 4 years? Maybe some other problems on the defensive side. Is that enough? Does Binnington have it in him again to be a consistent goalie? I don't know. So I'm not huge on the Blues. I think the Wild are in a spot where obviously they don't have a lot of cap because of the Parise and Suter buyouts.
Yep.
Right.
But they got Matt Boldy. They got a lot of really good young guys that I think Marco Rossi, who I think is going to explode this year.
Marco Rossi and Cole Perfetti are both going to be some of the biggest prospects in the Central this year, in my opinion. They're going to be huge.
And they are.
Interesting.
And
I'm seeing someone here putting their take on Brad Lambert. Keep him out this year. Keep him in development for a year. Bring him in next year, and he'll win the Calder.
He could. I just don't like if
not
if
in
we're trying to
Bedard's
win
rookie
trophies.
year. He's not going to win the Calder.
Yeah, exactly.
Not gonna happen.
Nobody's beating Connor Bedard.
Yeah, that's it.
I don't think it's happening.
We're gonna have some Tanya Harding up in this bitch.
It could be a Calder level. Let's call it Calder
a
Calder level year, like that. Like it's like a Calder level. He would potentially be able to win it on a normal year, but not in a year with a guy that could get 89 points.
I just find it hilarious how we draft a guy like McGroarty a lot earlier, and I haven't even heard that name. All we've heard is Lambert.
He's a longer timetable though. Like I actually don't have I don't feel bad that he wasn't there. Like he seems like a guy that is going to be there next year and definitely is going to be a part of that development. It's just not it's the same with Lucius, even though Lucius was drafted before Lambert in terms of years. Like it's fine. It's not a huge loss that they're not there. Everyone needs their own timetables.
It's definitely too early, I think, to make a judgment about Rutger McGroarty and where he's gonna go in his NHL career. I don't think his ceiling is nearly as high as Brad Lambert, but that's the thing. That's what's so exciting about Brad Lambert.
I don't think the Jets drafted him though to be a goal scorer. I think they drafted him to be the leader behind Brad Lambert. You know what I mean? That's what it kind of says.
And I think a lot of what happened last year had a lot to do with that pick. Or I think we were walking away with Joakim Camille. That Nashville ended up getting, and look how good he looked.
Yeah, I like every single one of the Jets prospects right now that are within the 2-year range. I say of making a real impact potentially with the club. I think they all have tons of potential, and probably the big I think this is the best group we've had in a very long time. Like when you put them all together, this is the best group we've had going back to the Ehlers, the Morrissey, the the Kyle Connor breaking in like that,
something
even Trouba to an extent. We are getting back to that point. We really do in prospect camp. We drained the cabinet. We had nothing left in it, and then now it's completely restocked.
This is our second graduation class, gang.
It feels that way finally.
It is,
organization.
Your first graduation class has set up your core that eventually peaked in 2017-18. And some guys will leave, some guys will still hang around, but now your second graduation class is almost ready for all of them to graduate, and it's an exciting fact.
Yeah,
it really is.
And you already have the most important player on the team locked in for a very long time. And other than Connor Hellebuck, that is the only other guy you really need out of this core group. Ehlers, I love to death. Don't get me wrong, but he's not going to be some guy that, like, at 34 years old, we're going to be like, we got to cling on to Ehlers, or even at 32 years old, right? Like, we want to use Ehlers right now, but, like, Kyle Connor and Connor Hellebuck, they're the guys we need to keep to mentor this group. And then,
you need to be competitive if you want Helly to stay.
I like the way the Jets are going, and I'm excited for the season. I'm excited for the games I'm coming out for. I'm excited for the team retirement night, the reverse retro. There's a lot of good stuff coming out this year for hockey. It just seems like the last month that got me excited. For the whole summer felt like a drag because it was such a quiet off season, you know? Like there was just no improvement, and then now we're finally seeing the improvement within the organization already that we kind of didn't see behind the curtain, and it's looking good to me so far in preseason. I'm excited. I'm not saying that I've drank the Kool-Aid just yet, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just saying that I am looking forward to Jets hockey for once. I'm not going to be dreading it night in and night out anymore.
And like you were saying, with what both of you guys were saying, with this new, I guess, graduation class and how these prospects are finally kind of starting to make that turn and, you know, really push for those roster spots. That almost is that's why I still have the feeling that the Jets are gonna cling on to a guy like Stanley. Is that, you know, like you were saying, Jackson, whether we want them to or not, whether it's the right thing or not, it's, you know, I feel like they're holding on to him. It's like, because, like, oh, he's a first-round draft pick, he's a first-round draft pick, he's a first-round draft pick. Well, it's like, well, it's not working. It doesn't matter where you draft him if he's not working. So that's just kind of my 2 cents on that.
Well, I think I've talked everything I could talk about the Winnipeg Jets for tonight in one sitting. It has been a nice conversation. We all feel like we got everything off our chest for tonight.
Yeah,
I'm all good. Yep.
Feels good here on this end too, guys. So thank you for watching another episode of the Prairie Puck Podcast, the official first episode with Jackson. Even though it's not his first episode, go watch the last one with him. It was a great time.
First one with him as an official co-host.
There we go. That's what we should be saying. Thank you guys for watching. We hope you enjoyed it. As always, like I said, we're going to try to make these weekly. We don't know when they'll be coming out, but hopefully weekly to some extent. We'll keep you up to date with that. We'll see week to week at some point. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. We hope you enjoyed. Have a great rest of your day. Go Jets, go, as always. And peace, love, and positivity. Have a great rest of your night. Bye-bye.